Ladies and gentlemen, please be upstanding for the Chair of Rochford District Council, Councillor Simon Wootton, the Vice Chair of the Council, Councillor Adrian Eves, the Chief Executive, Jonathan Stevenson, and the Reverend Kim Lepley.
Good evening, members. Please be seated.
Good evening, members, ladies and gentlemen of the public and those watching on the YouTube channel. Can I draw everyone's attention to page 3 within the agenda, which sets out details regarding fire safety instructions, the webcasting arrangements, and asks people to turn their mobile phones to silent. In the event of the fire alarm sounding, please leave the building via the nearest exit and make your way to the assembly point located in the Market car park adjacent to the Civic Suite building. Please do not return to the building unless given permission by council staff. Please note that the meeting will be live streamed where the proceedings are capable of repeated viewing. Please ensure your microphone is switched on when speaking and you speak clearly into the microphone.
Thank you. Members, can we please stand for the Reverend Kim Lepley to lead us in prayer before our meeting this evening? Thank you.
Good evening, folks. All I can say is I'm glad it's tonight and not tomorrow evening that we are meeting, although I've been told that some poor souls still have council meetings or other meetings tomorrow. Let us pray. Almighty God, we bring before you the agenda for tonight's meeting, that we, who have been entrusted with the responsibility to govern and make decisions for those who have elected us, be guided by the best of motives and with the interests of all, for the benefit of all. I pray, Lord, that you will give our councillors clear minds and the desire to hear all points of view, including those who may be opposed to their own, with an openness and respectful debate. Make each gracious and courteous to friend and opponent alike, with a real sense of working together for the district and the areas that they represent that are represented by each of our district councillors. Lord, at the same time, we commend for your blessing the work of all the employees of Rochford District Council, who maintain, implement and make possible the words that are debated, discussed and formed into policy. This we ask in Jesus' name. Amen. And if you know the words and you would like to join in with the saying of the Lord's Prayer, then please do so. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive them that trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power and the glory, for ever and ever. Amen. So may God enfold each one of you in love, fill you with his peace, and lead you in hope. And the blessing of God Almighty, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit be with you and all whom you love this night and forevermore. Amen. And of course we do extend a prayer that England win tomorrow evening. Have a good meeting, folks. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, the Reverend Lepley. Thank you very much. You may wish to stay and watch our meeting. Alternatively, you may have a busy evening ahead of you.
Well, I have a PCC now, so I can't go home and watch you on the telly.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. Members, please be seated. Thank you. And as I said earlier, welcome to this meeting of our full council. on tonight, the 14th of July. Right, if we move first of all to item 1, apologies for absence. I've had apologies from Councillor Myers, Councillor Capon, Councillor Knight, Councillor Linden and Councillor Page. Are there any other apologies that I've not mentioned? Councillor Williams.
Thank you, Chairman. Councillor Myers, I believe, as well.
Councillor Myers, I think I mentioned.
mentioned that,
I think I mentioned. Yeah, thanks. Right, if we turn to item 2, which is the minutes of the meeting held on the 19th of May, following a pre-meet on this agenda for tonight, following a pre-meet yesterday, Councillor Belton raised a number of concerns about the minutes, and certainly those concerns were also agreed with officers. So exceptionally, I've agreed with the monitoring officer that they need to be deferred, subject to your agreement, of course. So I'm proposing that they be deferred until the next meeting. I'm hoping that my Vice Chairman will second me. And if I could ask just for a show of hands, please, to agree that they be deferred. That's agreed, members. Right. Okay. Right, item 3, to receive declarations of interest. Members, are there any declarations of interest on the agenda tonight? None.
That's one for me. I would like to declare my interest as the Essex County Councillor.
Thank you very much indeed, Councillor Mulvire. Any other members? Councillor Callaghan.
Member of the ECC.
Thank you. Any others? No? Okay. Right. We move to announcements from me to begin with, and then we'll move on to the leader and the chairman of any policy committees, and then the head of paid service. Before I begin my other announcements, I would like to pay tribute to Mrs. Myra Weir, BEM, who very sadly passed away last month, and whose funeral I attended as chairman representing this council. Myra was a former member of Rochford District Council and a dedicated community volunteer. She gave many years of service to both the council and the wider community, particularly through her work with the Rochford Day Centre. Until her passing, Myra continued to be an active parish councillor, serving on both Rochford and Hawkwell parish councils, the latter being where I got to know her well during the time I was a parish councillor there. She was an active member of the Labour Party who worked tirelessly for what she believed in and wanting to make a positive difference to the community where she lived and worked, the epitome of a community servant and an example to us all. Myra will be remembered with great respect and gratitude for all she did for the people of our district. I would now invite members, if you're able to stand, to join me in observing a minute's silence in her memory. Thank you very much indeed, members. Thank you. I now move on to other announcements. This is my first chairman's announcement since being elected in May, and it has certainly been a busy start to the municipal year. It has been a pleasure to represent the council at a wide variety of events across the district. Among them were the opening of the Rayleigh Art Trail, several school performances and prize-giving evenings, and a number of community events. It has been particularly pleasing to see so many young people recognised for their achievements alongside the volunteers, teachers and community groups who do so much to support them. One event I found particularly memorable was the Armed Forces Day flag-raising ceremony on the 22nd of June. It was encouraging to see such strong support from the Lieutenancy of Essex, fellow councillors, representatives of local organisations and members of the public. During the ceremony, I was delighted to present the Chairman's Cadet Badge to Flight Sergeant Holly Dolan, who has kindly agreed to serve as my Chairman's Cadet this year. I look forward to working with her over the coming months. I have attended a number of civic services and also the High Sheriff's Garden Party, which have provided valuable opportunities to positively represent Rochford District and strengthen our links with neighbouring authorities and civic partners. As I said at the annual council meeting, my chairman's appeal this year will focus on supporting younger people across our district and creating opportunities for future generations, reflecting the council's motto, our heritage, our future. This evening on item 7, page 35 of our agenda, members will also be asked to consider a proposal to establish the Chairman's Community Chest. The intention is to create a lasting community fund that will support younger people across the Rochford district by helping them develop confidence, practical life skills and opportunities for the future. Rather than simply raising money for a different charity each year, the aim is to build a sustainable legacy that future chairmen can continue to support, ensuring that the generosity of our residents, businesses and community organisations has a lasting impact. I very much hope members will see the value of this vision. If approved, the Community Chest will provide a transparent and inclusive way of supporting projects that make a real difference to younger people's lives, while allowing the Chairman's appeal to leave a meaningful legacy for our district for many years to come. I'm also pleased to report that the Chairman's Garden Party held on the 5th of July was a great success and has so far raised over £2,600 for the Chairman's appeal. My very sincere thanks go to everyone who attended, donating prizes or supporting it in any way. Your generosity is greatly appreciated. There is plenty more to come over the coming months, and I look forward to updating members on our fundraising progress. Before I finish, I would like to thank all members and officers for the warm welcome and support I have received since taking office. It has been very much appreciated. Thank you. Finally, as we approach the summer recess, I wish you all a restful and enjoyable summer, and I look forward to seeing you again in September. But obviously we've got the meeting ahead, so that might be a touch premature, but we'll get through this meeting. But nevertheless, I wish you a good summer. Thank you very much indeed. I now turn to the leader, Councillor Malvaya, to see whether you have any announcements.
Dear Chairman, before I begin my update this evening, I would like to pay tribute to Anne Widdecombe. Like many people across the country, I was shocked and saddened to learn of Anne's death. For decades, she was one of the most recognizable figures in British public life. Whether people agreed with her views or not, she was respected for her courage, her conviction, and her unwavering commitment to public service. The circumstances surrounding her death have deeply disturbed many people, including myself. We know that counter-terrorism policing is leading the investigation and that inquiries are continuing to establish the full motive behind this horrific attack. At moments like this, we are reminded that democracy depends on individuals who are willing to stand up, speak out, and serve the public, sometimes in the face of hostility and personal risk. On behalf of Rochford District Council, I extend our sincere condolences to Anne's family, friends, colleagues, and us. May she rest in peace. So moving on to the main update. Less than 2 months ago, I stood before this chamber as the newly elected leader of Rochford District Council and said that residents had voted for change. I said that if we spend residents' money, we will justify it. If we made decisions, we'd be accountable. If we made promises, we would deliver results. Today, I'm pleased to report that we've been working hard to turn those promises into action. I work very long hours alongside my team in this role as the leader that the people of Rochford entrusted me with to ensure we are working for the residents. When we campaigned across Rochford District, our message was clear. We would support local businesses, improve local services, protect our green belt, make our communities safer, and ensure that this council delivers visible results for our residents. The people of Rochford gave us a mandate for change, and we have made a solid start and have taken on board an observation that we could do a better job of communicating, and we will do that. We said that we would take a disciplined approach to public finances, and that work is well underway. At a time when councils across the country face significant financial pressures, Rochford continues to maintain strong financial management. Working with officers, we are reviewing contracts, service and delivery arrangements to ensure residents receive the best possible value from every pound spent, and that resources are focused on delivering tangible improvements for our communities. Now moving on to supporting local businesses, one of the key commitments we made was to support our local businesses and strengthen our high streets. I'm delighted to confirm that we are now reviewing the market charter for Rayleigh, and in the weeks to come we'll do the same for Rochford. And we are looking to see how we can work with the Town Council to create significant opportunities to enhance Rayleigh's position as a thriving market town and provide greater support to traders and local businesses. Obtaining the charter was only the first step. We are now seeking to work closely with Rayleigh Town Council on how new opportunities could be delivered to bring the full benefits of the charter to residents, visitors, and local businesses. This is precisely the type of partnership that residents expect from local government. We have started developing plans for business forums that will cover the whole of Rochford District. These forums will provide businesses with a direct voice, allow us to better understand the challenges they face, and help create practical solutions that encourage investment, growth, and job creation throughout our district. Our goal is straightforward: to make Rochford one of the best places in Essex to start, grow, and support local businesses. Just to support the local businesses, in my inaugural speech, I spoke about free parking on Saturdays. So I also said that we would consider free parking on Saturdays as part of our wider commitment to support local businesses and bring more people into our town centres. Since then, we have explored several options with officers, including how such an initiative could be delivered responsibly, how it would affect council finances, and how it could support local traders, town centre footfall, and Rayleigh and Rochford markets. We are now working towards bringing a proposal to the council in September so that members can consider the options properly and make an informed decision. This is the right way to proceed. Ambitious in support of residents and businesses, but also responsible with public money. If agreed, a new option for car parking would be a practical and visible measure to support local businesses, encourage residents and visitors to use our high streets, and strengthen the impact the Rayleigh and Rochford market work that is already underway. Now moving on to jobs, employment, and economic growth. Economic growth is more than about businesses. It is about creating opportunities for local people. Recently, we delivered in partnership with key stakeholders a jobs fair in Rayleigh, which was extremely well attended by employers, training providers, and residents looking for employment opportunities. The turnout demonstrated the strong demand for local jobs and stronger links between employers and the workforce. Building on that success, we'll continue to work with businesses and employment partners to ensure residents can access opportunities closer to home. I'm also in positive initial discussions with major high street chains to look to operate in Rochford. This will be good for the local economy and will generate jobs for our local people, again putting British people first. Potholes, infrastructure and local issues. Throughout the election campaign, residents spoke to us about potholes, damaged curbs, and road safety concerns. Since taking office, we have continued to work closely with Essex County Council and the relevant authorities to address infrastructure issues raised by residents. I'm pleased to report that a number of potholes across the district have already been filled following reports and engagement with the relevant teams. Whilst there is still much more to do, this demonstrates that when residents raise concerns and councillors follow them through, tangible improvements can be delivered. This administration will continue to press for faster repairs, better maintenance, and improved mechanisms so that residents can see action being taken in their communities. Now moving on to supporting carers and investing in young people. Work has already begun on developing a...
Councillor Malvaya, you've exceeded your 5 minutes, but if you can bring it to a conclusion.
I will do so. Okay. Finally, I would like to take an opportunity and take a moment on behalf of the Council to formally congratulate you on being awarded the British Empire Medal and His Majesty's the King's Birthday Honours List. Congratulations. This is a significant and well-deserved recognition of your long-standing commitment to public services, to the community and to local government. This honour reflects not only your personal contribution, but also the value of public service within our communities. On behalf of all members and officers, I offer Councillor Wooten our sincere congratulations on this remarkable achievement. We are delighted to see his service recognized at national level and wish him every continued success. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed, Councillor Malvaya. And thank you, members. And one lesson that I've learned is you don't actually cut the leader off at a time when he's just about to pour praise on you. So thank you very much indeed for that. So a good lesson for me. So there we are. Thank you. And does any chairman of any policy committees or audit and governance wish to make any announcements? No. Looking around the room. And does the head of paid service wish to make any announcement? Okay, thank you very much indeed. Right, we're now going to go on to item 5, which is public questions and members' questions on notice. We've received no public questions, and as set out in the Constitution, question time is limited to 15 minutes in order to get through all of the submitted questions. I would point out that I think this session, both for the public questions and for member questions, is very important. So I would respectfully request that members' questions are kept concise and responders are equally concise in their responses so that we actually get through the questions. I would like to get through all the questions tonight, so but that does depend on a bit of discipline, and it may be extended a little bit, which is my prerogative as chairman to be able to do that. But please don't take too much advantage of the extension. But if I can turn to question 1, please, from Councillor Newport.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman. And this is a question to the leader, who I'm really pleased listening to his announcements. He's quite very supportive of our high streets. Can the leader confirm what specific projects or schemes the £600,000 capital allocation for Rochford Town Centre regeneration was earmarked for, and what the timeline is for spending it? If no firm plans exist yet, can he explain why the money was allocated to a budget without a delivery plan attached?
Thank you, Councillor Newport. The 600,000 capital allocation for Rochford Town Centre regeneration was not set by the current leader or the current administration, having been included in the Council's capital programme prior to the present administration taking office. Our understanding is that the allocation was intended to support a range of town centre regeneration initiatives, including the public wayfinding project and the exploration of options to bring 57 South Street back into active use, as well as the opportunity for all members to out forward ideas and proposals. As with many capital allocations, funding was identified to provide the council with the ability to progress regeneration opportunities as they are developed. The public wayfinding project is underway, and the scheme is aiming to be installed by the end of September. This project is part of the Economic Growth Action Plan 2026-27 that was approved by the Economic Development, Regeneration and Tourism Committee on the 12th of February. The current administration is reviewing priorities and opportunities not just for Rochford Town Centre but the entire district, and will bring forward proposal as appropriate. As such, the precise scope and timeline for expenditure will depend on the maturation of individual projects, business cases, and necessary approvals. The allocation, therefore, reflects a commitment to supporting town centre regeneration rather than being tied to a single, fully developed scheme. At that point, it was included in the budget. We are committed to Rochford District as a whole, as demonstrated in organising events and working for the residents, be it the east or the west side of the district. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Malvaya. Councillor Newport, you have a supplementary.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Leader. So following on from your response, Leader, as it's confirmed there's no fixed delivery plan for the full £600,000 and that projects are still being developed. And given that flexibility, what prevents this council from reallocating a proportion of the funding to Rayleigh Town Centre, which is the district's largest town and principal retail centre, so regeneration investment is distributed more fairly across the district?
Thanks, Councillor Newport. Yes, we are open to ideas, and it will not be limited to just Rochford Town. It may be extended upon depending on the merits of the scheme. Thank you.
Thank you, Leader. We turn to question 2, and I think this is from Councillor Hoy to Councillor Hookway. Councillor Hoy.
Thank you, Chairman. To Councillor Hookway. Following the Planning Policy Committee's consideration of the emerging local plan, can the Chairman confirm that before Regulation 19 local plan is presented for public consultation, all the supporting evidence-based documents, assessments, surveys and technical studies will have been completed and published so that members and residents are able to consider the full evidence? Furthermore, will he guarantee that the Council will submit the local plan for independent examination before the Government's December 2026 deadline, and that the plan submitted will be fully compliant with all legislative and national planning policy requirements and in accordance with the wishes expressed by residents during the consultation periods and process?
Councillor Hookway, if you'd like to respond, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you for your question, Councillor Hoy. Your question was very similar to one brought up in the recent Planning Policy Committee. I hope that some of the information provided in that committee was helpful to you. But for the benefit of all members, I will continue. As was discussed extensively at the Planning Policy Committee on the 9th of July, the local plan and its evidence base is on track to be completed and published, first for consultation and engagement with the public in the autumn, and then for final submission. Officers are continuing to work with key stakeholders, consultants and legal advisors so that we can put a local plan before members which is fully legally compliant and is capable of being found sound by the Independent Planning Inspectorate at an examination in public in due course. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hookway. Councillor Hoy, do you have a supplementary?
Sorry, Chairman. Thank you very much for the answer, Councillor Hookway. I noticed there wasn't a yes in there. That was all. Can I refer back to my question? Is there a yes, it will be submitted and it will be compliant with residents' wishes?
Councillor Hookway.
Yes, thank you. Perhaps I wasn't clear enough, but as we go forward with this matter, we have a timetable set out, and the intention is to meet the targets set out in that timetable. Members of the Planning Policy Committee will be aware of the timetable, and also we have decided to have further engagement with members of that committee on a regular basis through the reference groups. So it will be for members to make sure that we are meeting the dates and timelines that are set out. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hookway. I now turn to question 3 from Councillor FD, and I believe that's addressed to the leader. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Given the significant transport implications of major developments, particularly where they affect both Rochford District and Southend-on-Sea, I have previously asked the Director of Place to invite highways officers from both Essex County Council and Southend City Council to attend committee meetings where appropriate. The Leader of the Council has confirmed he has influence over Essex County Council. Can he confirm that he will ensure that highways officer is available to attend all relevant development committee meetings to present their advice and answer members' questions before decisions are made?
Councillor Malvaya.
Thank you, Councillor FD. My position is that as the Essex Highway team at Essex County Council are not part of this organisation, whilst we can politely request their committee attendance, it's for them to decide. This is the same for any external bodies. Advice from our legal team recommends that as not the Highways Authority, it would not be appropriate for Southend Highway officers to sit at the table to respond to member queries. But I did reach out to ECC and sought a response on this. And their response is, as a statutory consultee in the planning process, the Highway Authority's role within the planning process is to provide technical advice to the local planning authority through their formal consultation responses. These responses are set out their assessment of the application against relevant policies, standards and available evidence, and are made available to planning officers, committee members and the public as part of the planning process. Officers are satisfied that their formal consultation response clearly sets out their professional position on the application and provides sufficient detail for the committee to consider the highway matters before it appears for the local planning. Should the local planning authority have any specific technical questions or require clarifications in advance of the meeting, officers are always happy to respond to these through usual officers channel. And I can personally intervene in that, and I can raise it to the cabinet member of highways. Consequently, attendance at planning committees is generally reserved for exceptional circumstances where the highway authority considers that its written advice cannot adequately address the matters under consideration, and where it is felt that they would add value to the discussions. Committee attendance will not be considered if it is to justify highway authority's response to the LPA. Thank you.
Thank you, Leader. Councillor FD, do you have a supplementary?
Thank you, Chairman. In the same light as highways, the Leader has also confirmed he has influence at Essex County Council to get more police in our streets. Can he explain how we will do that, and if we've had any extra officers since he's taken over? Thank you.
Councillor Malvaya.
Yes. That's a very relevant point. I was at the local government association conference in Bournemouth last week, and I had the pleasure of meeting Roger Hurst. And we have decided to work on a number of different initiatives together. That was part of my speech, but I never got to it. So what we have agreed to do is to use our library networks for a direct contact line with the police. We are also working on several options to extend the rangers and 5 or 6 initiatives. So I shall be meeting him in the coming weeks to formalize all of those things. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Leader. Right, we move to Councillor Mrs. Danielle Belton, who wishes to address the Leader.
Thank you, Chairman. The local plan and protection of our Greenbelt remains the most pressing issue for Rochford District Council. During 25-26, the former administration worked at pace with officers, councillors and residents to get the local plan back on track to ensure that we would meet the crucial deadline in December. Under the timetable set up, regular member briefings and workshops would have been taking place throughout May, June and July. So far, none of these sessions have happened. Can the Leader of the Council please provide reassurance that he understands the local plan process, the current position of the plan, and furthermore that his group have started the work involved in choosing sites across our district to include in the plan, ready to bring a draft version to committee next month? Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Malvaya.
Thank you, Councillor Belton. I'm aware of the importance of getting a local plan in place, and I'm aware of the process and timeline, including the deadline set by the government to submit a local plan. We've had several briefing sessions with the officers, and that they have been taking place since we entered administration. The Planning Policy Committee, which Councillor Hookway referred to, on the 9th of July proposed setting up member reference groups, the first dates of which are already in the diary, and will provide an opportunity for members to discuss the local plan, its evidence base that comes before the committee and the full council. There is a significant amount of work to be done in a short space of time because of the situation we inherited, and that requires consensus and joined up approach across groups, officers and reference groups. It's not just for the administration to pick sites or review the evidence base. It will require collective effort and engagement with the residents in terms of consultation. I would also like to add, we inherited no adopted local plan with a draft of over 2,000 consultation responses still to work through and a looming December deadline. Protecting the character of our communities and safeguarding our green belt was one of the priorities we set out from the beginning. Over recent weeks, we have undertaken substantial work in relation to local plan. This has involved a series of meetings with the councillors, but I would also like to draw parallels to Brentwood, which started the same journey a long time ago, and they now have a plan in place. Unfortunately, the same cannot be said for Rochford, and the plan has not been updated in the last 11 years, which means our housing target numbers could be significantly higher had the plan been approved a few years back. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Malvaya. Councillor Belton, do you wish to come back with a supplementary?
Thank you very much. Thank you for that. And I agree, inheriting plans that are not in the stage they should be is a difficult piece of work. I'm glad we were able to move it on as far as we did. Now, it's interesting to hear the importance that you place on consensus and joined up working. I totally agree, it's going to be vital. And in that vein, do you accept that misinformation being shared by the administration, either accidentally or intentionally, must be stopped to ensure trust and cohesion? Misinformation such as Councillor Stuart Belton and myself proposing the local plan to build on 90% of the Greenbelt, which is both incorrect and factually impossible, as it would give us a population of over 1 million people.
Thank you, Councillor Belton. Councillor Malvaya.
Thanks, Councillor Belton. We have spoken about that issue previously, and I would like to go back away, and I'll give you an answer offline. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. And we turn to the final question, question 5, and it is from Councillor Ms. Angelina Marriott.
Okay, through you, Chairman, I would like to ask the Leader, can he please explain what he means, giving examples by his statements both in this chamber and in the public that Rochford District Council is broken?
Thank you, Councillor Marriott. Councillor Malvaya.
Thank you, Councillor Marriott. Whilst I acknowledge the question, we are sitting on a surplus while our buildings have been falling apart. Money in the bank with nothing done with it is the failure, not the defense. I've already set out this evening that Rochford has gone 11 years without an adopted local plan and now faces a December deadline. If that isn't broken, I don't know what is. Then we have our assets and our buildings which have suffered from chronic lack of investments. So the council is running Mill Hall at a loss. Some parts of this civic suite are out of use, and a number of other examples where assets owned by the council require significant funding to modernize these buildings. Regular responses from residents suggest to me that they are seeing bare minimum in terms of services received, and there are a number of issues that keep getting raised with me constantly, and they need addressing urgently. So the council can do better in terms of providing services. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Malvaya. Councillor Marriott, do you have a supplementary?
Thank you, Leader, for your response. In light of that, do you have a plan as to what you would like to do with the buildings? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Malvaya.
Thank you. So yes, we have had a number of meetings with the officers, and we are reviewing all the buildings and assets, and in the next council meeting we'll bring forward a proposal which will ensure that we put our assets to better use. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed to questioners and responders who kept the time to about 17 minutes. So we went way over the time band, and useful set of questions there. Thank you very much indeed. We now turn to item 6, which is the governance arrangements and constitution updates. I think this is probably a little bit of a double act between the monitoring officer and Councillor Malvaya. But do you wish to introduce the item, please, Councillor?
Apologies. So yes, item number 6 relates to governance arrangements and constitutional updates. The report is on the page 19 of the agenda, but I'm pleased to move the recommendations contained within this report, which addresses a number of important governance and constitutional matters for this municipal year. Firstly, the report proposes the establishment of a scrutiny task and finish group framework. Following discussion at the annual meeting, consideration has now been given to how effective scrutiny can continue to operate within our committee system. Whilst there is no requirement for a standalone scrutiny committee under a committee model of governance, it remains essential that decisions are subject to appropriate challenge, performance is monitored, and policy development is informed by evidence and member engagement. The proposed task and finish group arrangements provide a flexible and a proportionate mechanism to undertake focused review of important issues, gather evidence, develop recommendations, and report back to the decision-making body. The terms of reference set out in Appendix A provide a clear governance framework and have been developed in consultation with group leaders. Secondly, the report asks Council to approve a revised allocation of committee seats following the by-election held on 18 June. The Council is required to ensure that committee appointments continue to reflect the political balance of the authority as far as reasonably practicable. The proposals before members comply with those statutory requirements and have been developed following consultations with the political groups. The report also seeks confirmation of committee appointments and appointments to outside bodies for 2026 and 27. These appointments are an important part of ensuring that the Council is properly represented both within its own governance framework and across the range of external partnerships and organizations with which we work. Members are also asked to approve a return to a standard meeting commencement time of 7:30 p.m. unless otherwise agreed by the monitoring officer in consultation with the relevant committee chairman. This aims to provide clarity and consistency for members, officers, and public attending meetings. It is proposed to add additional wording to R5 to ensure that changes to the time meetings are only agreed in exceptional circumstances, and that wording states, that the start time of the meetings will be 7:30 p.m. unless otherwise agreed by the monitoring officer in consultation with the relevant committee chairman where exceptional circumstances apply. Overall, these recommendations, if agreed, will ensure that our governance arrangements remain effective, proportionate and robust, and are aligned with the Council's constitution and statutory requirements. Chairman, therefore, I move recommendations as set out in the report with additional wording proposed for R5.
Thank you, Councillor Malvaya. Just to clarify recommendation 5, if you would be in agreement, looking at the wording to keep it simpler, could I suggest that you might want to put an amendment unless otherwise agreed exceptionally, and it is just one word as opposed to a further sentence on the end. I don't think that alters the sentiment at all.
No, it doesn't, and I'm happy with that.
You're happy to work with that? And
yes, please, yeah.
Then we can base on that. So the recommendation will read that the start time of meetings will be 7:30 p.m. unless otherwise agreed exceptionally by the monitoring officer in consultation with the relevant committee chairman. You're happy with that? Right, okay. And you have a seconder, I believe. Councillor Hookway, do you wish to speak now or reserve your right to speak later?
No, thank you, Chairman. I will second that motion. Thank you.
And are you going to speak now, or do you want to reserve your right to speak later?
I'll reserve my right to speak later. Thank you.
Okay. Right. At that point, can I turn to any other members who wish to debate? I saw Councillor Ward's hand first. Councillor Ward.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Chairman. I've actually read the report from the monitoring officer in regards to the changes in recommendation 1, and I would like to recommend, or I'd like to propose an amendment that we actually adopt option 2 with regard to a stand-alone scrutiny committee, because I think in the current circumstances that would be a far better alternative. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman. I would like to second that.
Right, well seconded. You beat me to it, Councillor Hoy. You got in there very quickly. But I do think that you've got to come up with some precise wording of the alternative recommendation, because we need an amendment to recommendation 1, and that it is that amendment that we will debate before we move on.
Thank you, Chairman. I think the amendment should be very, very simple. It just basically replaces the task and finish group with...
Hold on 1 second. I hope an officer is making a note. You are? Yep, right.
Yeah, you're making notes, good. I would suggest it's just changing where it says scrutiny, task and finish group to actually stating what option 2 says in regards to a scrutiny committee. I think that makes sense.
Councillor Hoy, you happy with that as the seconder?
Yes, I'm happy with that.
That's good news. Right, well, you've spoken in favour. We're now going to debate that part before we move forward. Councillor Hoy, do you wish to reserve your right to come back later, or do you want to speak now?
I reserve my right to come back later.
Councillor Belton.
Thank you. I was initially quite relaxed about the options for scrutiny, given that last year the scrutiny committee wasn't used to its full potential, probably because we led such a transparent and open administration with very clear communication, so people didn't need to scrutinise things. However, given the leader's statement this evening, it's clear that there's still some confusion about the role of Rochford District Council against other councils. Now, I understand that the leader and the administration, as we all went through, have to learn at pace the role required, as well as the county one, made all the harder as he doesn't live or work in the area, so it is more challenging. So I do feel that a scrutiny committee is appropriate at this time because there's an awful lot for us to look at. an awful lot of collaborative work that's needed, and this will give us an opportunity to work together. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Belton. Councillor Booth, I think, is next.
Thank you, Chair, for the opportunity to speak. I'm reassured by Councillor Ward's very wise intervention there, although I welcomed the fact that scrutiny seems to have risen from the ashes of this administration's first batch of edicts to officers. We do need to be reminded that officers offer advice and guidance. It is local elected representatives that actually make the decisions. It does seem that any idea of scrutiny contained within Appendix A, in terms of a task and finish group, in some ways, I would use the term, has been castrated and is a mere reflection of its previous existence. It seems to have no teeth, no power, and no, I'll leave the third to imagination, since I'm far too much of a gentleman to cause offence. But I'm really concerned that the task and finish approach will not have sufficient weight, for example, to call in the Chief Constable of a failing police force, a chief executive of a hospital that is causing concern, or the executive head teacher of a school locally that has failed an Ofsted. All this could be the scenario for our local residents, and our local residents will seek assurance that there is a clear management plan to ensure that those services are there at the point of need and delivered well. I'm not convinced that meetings taking place, perhaps behind closed doors, with pseudo chairs, are a shadow, I think, of the previous incarnation of the chair of scrutiny, where truth is spoken to power without fear or favour, from all political groups. I certainly would not wish to play my part as a castrato in reform's watered down, tempered, and I have to say slightly sycophantic facade of scrutiny. I can reassure my colleagues from Reform that the fully resurrected Scrutiny Committee will never have the power to scrutinise the gifts given to national leaders or to examine the policies of Count Binface. This, I think, does reek of us running away from scrutiny locally, as some of people have argued some are doing nationally. And therefore I cannot support Appendix 8 for the sake of our residents. I cannot support this compromise since it takes away the vehicle by which elected representatives can question those in power and hold them accountable. So unfortunately, I cannot support the task and finish group, but I'm very much in favour of Councillor Ward's intervention. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Booth. Councillor Macpherson, I think did I see you indicate?
Not on this item, thank you, Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Any other members? Councillor, yeah, you've got Councillor Wilson in front of you. You've swapped seats just to keep me on my toes. Councillor Milne.
He asked me to move up. Yes, I was a chair of scrutiny, and when we moved to the committee system, there was confusion because with the cabinet system, you scrutinised that, and of course they all said, yeah, there were the committees now. They sort it all out in committee. But that wasn't really the case. What in fact happens is things do occur. Things occur in the press. There are decisions made. There are things not done properly. And that's where the modern scrutiny committee has its structure and in a committee system. And of course, there is a very large sort of booklet about all of this, which you can get from local government, that just defines how you go about that. So yes, I completely agree with my colleague here, my fellow councillor, that we really should have a scrutiny committee and not just a task and finish group. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone? Councillor Sutton.
Thank you. There seems to be a notion that this proposal removes scrutiny. It doesn't. It changes how scrutiny is carried out. The question before us tonight is very simple. Is scrutiny measured by how many committees we create, or is it measured by whether problems are actually investigated and solved? The previous scrutiny committee has been criticised as making limited use of members' time. Simply having a committee called scrutiny does not automatically deliver meaningful scrutiny. The proposal before us allows any councillor to bring forward an issue requiring investigation through a task and finish group reporting directly to council. That means scrutiny becomes focused, evidence-led and centred on real issues affecting residents instead of maintaining another permanent committee where there is work for it or not. Good scrutiny is not measured by how long committee sits, it is measured by whether they deliver results. Tonight we are choosing effectiveness over bureaucracy, and that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sutton. Did I see another hand over here before I go to Councillor Newport? No? Okay. Right, Councillor Newport. James Newport, that is.
Thank you, Chairman, finally. I've been waving my hand around all night. There's a few things on this report, not just necessarily scrutiny. The first thing that I'll raise with you... Pardon? No, there's lots of different...
No, Councillor Newport, just to be clear, we're talking on the amendment proposed by Councillor Ward and seconded by Councillor Hoy. We're talking specifically on that amendment to do with task and scrutiny.
So we're only talking on one recommendation at the moment?
Absolutely,
right?
yeah.
Okay.
So that's possibly why I ignored your waving hand, because I thought you were wanting to talk about other things.
I'll speak on that as well, Chair, as I am, as you know, I was vehemently opposed to removing scrutiny, and I have expressed that to the leader. And I'm glad to see that your group has done a U-turn on this, because certainly they were all for a task and finish group when we had a initial meeting to discuss this. So I agree totally with Councillor Booth. I think that we need to reinstate the scrutiny committee, but I am disappointed that although I have raised this with the monitoring officer, Councillor Belton says about scrutiny last year, but in the Constitution, before it was amended, Council was meant to see an annual report for scrutiny. We've not seen that. How can we measure what scrutiny has done? And I think it would be fair for the administration to see that report so that they too can have a measure of what scrutiny does in practice. So I'd like to see that brought forward, Chairman, as soon as possible. The annual report, and I think the previous year as well is missing, but that's down to officers to resource that. So I'll certainly be supporting Councillor Ward's reinstatement of the Scrutiny Committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Newport. Now, I'm going to turn to Councillor Hoy. Councillor Hookway, I'll take you as the last speaker before we actually ask Councillor Hoy to sum up.
Thank you, Chairman. I've listened to the debate and various members speaking in relation to the proposed amendment to what's in the report. This matter has been put forward and discussed amongst various different people over the period between the last council meeting and this. The monitoring officer has done fairly extensive work in relation to trying to meet the needs of the council and what the administration is attempting to do. Councillor Sutton was quite succinct in how the fact that it seems that members are stuck with perhaps an institution in a particular committee, rather than thinking a bit more broadly about how the whole process can be brought up to date. I think that the proposal does bring the council up to date in terms of how best to take scrutiny forward. There is the opportunity within each committee to scrutinise decisions, and this adds a further layer to that, where councillors can bring forward matters into that which might be missed. So I think it covers all areas. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Hookway. Right, I'm now going to turn to Councillor Hoy to his reserved right to speak on the amendment.
Thank you, Chairman. I will be brief. I think most of what I would say has been said. I think it's quite interesting that probably in the first two meetings of this municipal year, our group, the Conservative group and RDR, agreed more in those two meetings than they did the entire previous year. I think effective scrutiny is important. I've chaired the scrutiny committee, as it was then called the review committee, and I've seen the value that the independent and public scrutiny it brings. Scrutinising decisions in front of the public and allowing public to put things into the scrutiny committee as well, because that is something that you're allowed to do, and it did happen. And I think this is so important, and it feels, and I have had conversation with Addy about this, sorry, Councillor Leah, and I think whether or not the administration are avoiding transparency or not, it seems that they are. I don't believe they are deliberately doing so. I think this is giving the look of doing so, and I think they should be aware of that. The scrutiny committee is important. The committee system is there to scrutinise what goes on, but it does not work as a scrutiny committee does. It doesn't get those outside parties in, the third-party bodies in, to see what they do. It doesn't look at details of what we do in that enough detail which the scrutiny committee can bring. So that's why I'm supporting the proposal put forward by Councillor Ward.
Thank you, Councillor Hoy. I'm now looking along the line to see whether or not one of the officers, or indeed you, Councillor Ward, will read out the amended recommendation before we take a vote on it. Whilst the wording is being agreed, it is to agree the principle of a standalone scrutiny committee. That will involve the monitoring officer bringing to the next full council meeting a report and setting out the terms of reference and also making any constitutional amendments. So we just need to be clear that it can't actually happen with immediate effect. It's got to wait for the next full council meeting. I know, Councillor Newport, you're grimacing. I have noticed you.
Sorry, Chairman. Yeah, sorry, just to go on your point, I don't understand why we just can't reinstate the existing scrutiny committee.
Councillor Newport, whatever your frustration, I'm being advised legally by the monitoring officer, and I will stand by the monitoring officer's advice. Otherwise, we start, moving off at a tangent. I would like it to happen as quickly as possible. Our next meeting, I think, is in September. And that's when it will happen. And the monitoring officer's ruling on this is really final. Right, have we got the agreed wording, Councillor Ward?
I would assume that the Democratic Service Officer has been writing it down, and it would probably be easier if she just read it out.
Someone able to read it out?
So the amended recommendation is to agree the principle of a standalone scrutiny committee and for the monitoring officer to bring out a detailed report to the next council meeting to include terms of reference and constitutional changes.
Reinstate? Establish?
Establish. Yeah.
Re-establish?
So just to be clear, that is to agree the principle of establishing a standalone scrutiny committee.
So, Chairman, if I can just read it out, have I got it here? To establish, and basically we are going to establish a standalone scrutiny committee. Its terms of reference will be set out by the monitoring officer, by the monitoring officer.
At the next meeting? Yeah? Okay, we've got that, officers? Yeah. Okay, and you're happy with that, Councillor Hoy?
Yes, I'm happy with that.
Okay, in that case, Councillor Marvile, we have actually finished the debate, but as leader, I think it's right and proper to let you in very briefly.
What I would like to point out is the administration is not shying away from accountability or scrutiny. We take that very, very seriously.
That's good to hear. We are going to go to the vote, if we may, as the debate has been completed. So the recommendation, the amended recommendation has been read out. Can I please ask members to vote in favour by means of a show of hands? Those in favour? And those against, please, if you could show. And any abstentions? So that amendment is carried by 22 votes to 12 against. So that is the new recommendation 1. All right. Okay. We move on to other recommendations as printed in the agenda. I don't know whether Councillor Malvayo or the monitoring officer, you wish to add anything to those recommendations? Councillor Malvayo?
No, nothing else for me. Thank you.
Right, in which case we now turn to debate. Councillor Efti, I saw your hand first. Oh, sorry, Councillor McPherson, sorry.
Thank you, Chairman. I know how difficult that job is. Okay, and as Chair of Community and Housing, I'll be open to all your scrutiny. My query is on Appendix D. I did get in touch with Councillor Malvida and I asked if you'd had guidance, didn't I? Which you said yes. Now, we have Community Safety Partnership, the representative, Councillor Rob Ince. If nobody here knows, the Community Safety Partnership's terms of reference are the portfolio holder or the chair of the committee is the member of the CSP. And I've actually attended one meeting already under invitation. And I believe the PFCC is exactly the same. The representative for the CSP attends the PFCC. So I propose an amendment, because that will be in line with their terms of references that we have to comply with, that for the Community Safety Partnership, it will be myself as chair with the substitute Councillor Ince, and for the PFCC, myself as chair with the substitute Councillor Lisa Newport. I look for a seconder on that, please.
Councillor Williams.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I second that.
Thank you very much. Are there any other people wishing to debate? Councillor Efti, did I see you?
Thank you, Chairman. Some good news. My motion on page 164, I'm going to withdraw that in light of recommendation 5. I just want to have quick. So this issue was not debated at the last full council meeting, despite the significant impact of the earlier 7 p.m. start, as on both councillors and residents. Members who live in the eastern part of the district have found it extremely difficult to travel to Rayleigh in time for a 7 p.m. meeting. This problem is even greater for the Development Committee meetings held at the Mill Hall. I take into consideration where you've added the exceptionally, and I think that probably go for Development Committee meetings when they're large developments and go on a long time. Right, so for councillors who work during the day and live some distance from Rayleigh, this simply does not provide enough time to travel, eat, prepare properly for the meeting and fulfil their responsibilities as elected members. The earlier start time also creates barriers for residents who wish to attend our meetings. Rochford is a commuter district and many residents work in London or elsewhere. A 7 p.m. start makes it much harder for them to arrive on time to observe the democratic process. There is also an issue of parking. Charges in Rayleigh remain in force until 7 p.m. I do not believe that residents should have to pay to park simply to attend and observe meetings of their council. Returning the council meetings to 7:30 p.m. start would improve accessibility for councillors and the public alike, support greater public engagement and ensure that meetings are more practical for everyone involved. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor FT. Councillor Newport, that's Councillor James Newport.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chairman. Sorry, I can't get my screen to unlock. So in the report, Chairman, I just want to, through you, Chairman, to the monitoring officer who wrote the report. Extremely disappointing to see that the monitoring officer has referred to our group as the Liberal Democrats or the Lib Dems in the report. In fact, our group is called the Liberal Democrat and Independent Group. There is a distinction in that, and I'd like to see the report amended and corrected, and could you please make sure that they're uploaded correctly to the council's CMIS system? Thank you.
On that point, that will be an amendment shown in within the minutes. Is that all right?
Yeah, thank you. It does matter.
Yeah, of course it does, and
as I'm
if that's
sure
what
you,
you're asking,
as
but
I'm sure you appreciate.
the
The second point on this report that I'd like to make, Chairman, we've heard about a proposal from Councillor McPherson about the outside bodies, but in fact, there is nothing in the Constitution, I believe, to say that the PFCC representative should be the chair of communities. So, and in fact, she's just proposed someone that isn't a chair to be a substitute. So we won't be supporting that because Councillor Lisa Newport is actually a member of communities and she's equally able to report back to the Communities Committee. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chairman. A couple of points. I'll start with the easy one. I noted to the end of the report about the fact we no longer have the Sanctuary Board. We won't have member representatives on that board. That board was quite important to me because it allowed me to speak to members of that board to take concerns back, and I have many concerns raised to me by residents about Sanctuary. There may be reasons for it, and it may be felt that officers might be better able to deal with those concerns. However, it does remove from me an ability to get to Sanctuary fairly quickly with questions. Can I ask, if the Sanctuary Board is being abolished, and it will be according to this report, can we as members have a named person act sanctuary that we can contact about our concerns? This will be outside of this meeting, but I think it's very important that that's taken forward because it is very important to those residents, and there are significant numbers now with the amount of building that's happening which Sanctuary have taken over. That's the first point. It's probably not something that could be decided at this meeting, but I want that taken forward and for all members to have a named contact we can contact for Sanctuary. On the second point, which I was going to raise before Councillor FD did, but he got there ahead of me, recommendation R5, I'm a bit unsure whether this is constitutional. The ruling has been made, and we decided as council that committee times would start at 7 p.m. There is a 6-month rule which can be reversed, but I think it's by 10 members, and I believe the 10 members was by the motion coming later, so I don't see how recommendation 5 can come before the motion. It's a technicality, but I think it's important we do things right and transparently. So I'm not sure that we can agree recommendation 5 because it's before the motion, which would have the 10 members saying that we can revisit something that we've already decided within 6 months. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hoy. My understanding of the Sanctuary is that that's work in progress, and I think it is intended that there is a better reporting between those people that sit on that meeting and members generally. But I take your point that there also needs to be the opportunity for individual members certainly to go through the Director of Housing and also have some contact with Sanctuary in terms of operational issues. So I think you make a really good point on that. In terms of the legality of Recommendation 5, I turn really to the Monitoring Officer again and get your view, please, Paula.
I think as the proposal is contained within a report rather than a motion to council, then I'm satisfied that it's constitutional to agree it in this way.
Sorry, thanks. If I may just come back very briefly, can I have a written explanation for that, please, outside of this meeting, which could be sent to all councillors of why that is legal and in agreement with the Constitution?
Right, I'm going to move on to Councillor Belton. I think you indicated.
Thank you, Chairman. A few points. So it was my understanding in regards to Councillor McPherson's amendment that it wasn't our constitution, it was the terms and reference of the outside body, and that would have been the issue. If that's the case, then I think we would need to go with that amendment, or our proposal wouldn't fit, but I've never sat on that body, so I don't know. In regards to Sanctuary, I had the same concerns. I've been quite vocal about those concerns all week, but we did receive an email from the leader this morning from Lauren Stretch, who set out the reasonings and the proposals and the suggestions that actually it would be a more inclusive meeting that could be had where she would be able to be present, or at least an officer would be able to be present, which would make that meeting more viable and more could be sought from it. I wasn't sure that members that weren't on the committee could attend. So if you've been attending those, that's interesting. You said I thought you reported to that committee. So yeah, I think previously I wasn't in support of it being disbanded, but actually it's being replaced with something that'll be more practical, I believe, and Lauren believes it's the right thing, and I trust Lauren's expertise far more than any of ours when it comes to landlords and social housing. So I'm happy to support what's set out in the table, notwithstanding the comments that Councillor McPherson made, that if it's in the terms of reference that it should be the chairman, then I think we absolutely need to support the chairman in that role. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Eaves.
Thank you, Chair. I had extensive conversations with Lauren Stretch, our Housing Director, about this, as I was extremely concerned, as I've had very close contact and very close cooperation with Sanctuary through this particular committee. One of the things that they have pointed out, which is the reason being why this has come forward, is that there have been an awful lot of work that goes into every meeting that they pull together every quarter, and it's an unfortunate fact that there were regular absentees and very few questions apart from myself, who I've got quite a reputation for. When I spoke to Lauren, the main thing is that we are not losing that contact. What we're trying to do is to actually work with Sanctuary so as they don't end up doing a huge amount of work in preparation for these meetings that then is effectively duplicated when they meet with Lauren. So there's only one concern that I have in the way that the report is actually put forward, and that is that Sanctuary Housing and the Council are reviewing the governance arrangements with a view to inviting the Chairman and Vice Chairman of the committee to the quarterly meeting with officers. Now, when I spoke to Lauren, the plan there was that anyone who does actually wish to attend that meeting as a member would be able to actually attend. So I would like to see that actually noted on the report there, that is the case, so as there is no misunderstanding on that. But I am now, further to my concerns on that, I am actually in support of what that has to say. A couple of other things, if I may. Just a little anomaly, if I could have some clarification on it. The London Southend Airport Consultative Committee, we have 3 members listed there, but they're all listed as substitutes. I'm not quite sure how that works. I don't know if someone can explain that to me. If we're all listed as substitutes, who are we substituting for? That seems a little bit strange to me. So if someone could explain that to me, that would be great. The other thing is that we have got a report coming to another committee in a week or so's time around the asset disposal or asset transfer, I should say. With the outside bodies no longer required, we've got one there with Rayleigh Grange Community Association. Can I have a clarification there? As the charity has surrendered the lease back to the council, is that yet another piece of asset that is going to be put on the list for the asset transfer? As my concern on that one, which I will bring up in the committee that is to come, is that we have an awful lot of information that we are waiting for to be able to action the asset transfer and transfers a lot of properties on that list. And if we're adding more to it, my concern is that we are actually going to be in a situation as a council where we're not going to be able to effectively do the asset transfers because of the amount of information that we are still waiting for. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Eaves. I can probably answer the question on the London South End question that you raised. The representatives on the London South End Airport Consultative Committee, there is a requirement under their constitution that they are named against the original person. So you have to have someone named who represents the council. There's 3 positions. So for each of the 3 positions, there is a specific named person for each of those positions. And that's how it works with London South End Airport. So that is, if you like, a quirk of their constitution. Councillor Hughes, I think you indicated.
Thank you, Chair. I'm not tall enough. Right, I believe it would be beneficial to have more councillors representing the Sanctuary Board to improve oversight and capability. I have 2 residents complain about delays of having work carried out and some waiting a considerable long time for repairs and maintenance. I'm also concerned about the number of empty sanctuary properties across the Rochford district, which I've raised issues regarding these properties, and many have been found in a poor condition and not properly maintained. Bringing these properties back would be helpful to reduce the pressure of the housing waiting list. One resident won a bid 3 months ago and is still waiting to view the properties and all she's being told is still work has to be done. This is 3 months later. Raises the question of how many other residents may be in a simple position. We need to keep a close eye on sanctuary performance and ask about challenging questions, and having additional councillors involved would strengthen scrutiny and help ensure that we receive clear answers and a better outcome for our residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hughes. Can we just stay on focus, please? We are actually talking about appointments to committees rather than making statements about how well the system runs or it doesn't run. So can we just keep very focused on what the item is about? It's to sort our governance arrangements out for the forthcoming year, and then in time there will be the opportunity to report back to council concerns or findings. So if I could ask other people to focus in that way, please. Now, Councillor McPherson, I believe you've spoken once. I will come back to you, but can I let others that haven't spoken please take priority? And I think it's Councillor Lisa Newport this time.
Thank you, Chair. So having previously sat on the Police Fire Crime Panel, it's my understanding that it doesn't need a representative from the Community Safety Partnership. It's not necessary that the representative comes from Rochford District Council, and it has to reflect the political makeup. So just for clarification.
Thank you very much indeed. Councillor Ward, I think you were indicating, and I'm going to go to Councillor Malvira towards the end, really just to sum up on the report, because they are your recommendations, and you need to sort of just take stock of what various people have said. So good luck on that one. I was just giving you a bit of forward notice on that.
Thank you very much indeed, Chairman. No, it's just to endorse what Councillor Belton said with regard to Lauren Stretch, the officer, the Director of Housing. I've worked with her personally on a sanctuary project that she has worked on and made sure it came out right. I believe that is probably a very good way forward in working with Lauren, because she has direct contact with the people at Sanctuary and she actually does get things done. And I think I did sit on the committee many years ago, but this, in my opinion, is a better way forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. And at that point, I think we've had a good debate on the subject. I'm going to turn to the leader Councillor Macpherson, you coughed. I did say that I would come back to you. Sorry, Councillor Malvire.
Thank you, Chairman. And I was just talking quietly to my colleague behind me, Councillor Lisa Newport.
You were indeed so quietly, I didn't notice.
Good. Because the terms of reference for the CSP is clear. But I did say the representative for the PFCC has always been the chair of the portfolio, but we can always check those terms of references for the PFCC, because quite rightly, Councillor Lisa Newport has got experience and I don't see a problem. What I'm keen is that we get this right, and we can't go and put people on committees, outside bodies, if it doesn't match their terms of reference. Just a couple other points. I already have attended, as a representative, the Health and Wellbeing Board. It's not listed, so I don't know if it should be. And again, if anybody wants to check their terms of reference, it's usually the same sort of format. And the monitoring officer can answer this one. I don't know that it matters, but for example, with the Children and Young People's Partnership, my colleague to my left, Councillor Booth, an ex-headmaster, very well equipped to attend that, does not sit on the Communities and Housing Committee. But if that doesn't matter, that's fine, as long as they're going to feed reports back into the committee. Does all that make sense? Sorry. Thank you.
Thank you. I will now come to the leader to pull together the various recommendations, taking account of the conversations that we've been having.
Yeah. So when we were approaching the subject of appointments to these outside bodies, we wanted to build a cross-group consensus, and I spoke to each of the group leaders, sought their inputs into it, and by identifying that, we have tried to put appointments which align to their skills and experience. And as Councillor Newport said, I'm not aware that the chairs of those committees have to be necessarily appointed to that. In terms of Sanctuary, again, sought the inputs from Officer Lauren Stretch, and I fully agree that the proposed model is more representative. We could put more members alongside the officers to put Sanctuary on focus. So we will get more representation and more accountability that way. I hope I would raise everything else. If I've missed anything, I'm quite happy to come back.
Okay, can we go to the recommendations, please? Because they're your recommendations and a number of comments, but recommendation 1 has been sorted. Recommendation 2, please. I'll go to the recommendations. The revised allocation of seats to political groups on the committees be as set out in Appendix B, notwithstanding the what Councillor James Newport has asked to be recorded in the minutes. Members, is that agreed, please? Can we just have a show of hands? Those in favour? Unanimous? If we move to recommendation 3, that the nominations of political groups to seats on committees and joint committees as set out in Appendix C be confirmed and the monitoring officer give effect to the wishes expressed by political groups as to the members of the group that shall fill the seats allocated to them. as written within the report. Those in favour, please, could we have a show of hands? Thank you, members, and that is unanimous. We move to recommendation 4, the appointment of members of the Council to outside bodies for 2026-27 as set out in Appendix D. But that may need amendment in the light of conversations that have taken place. Councillor Malvaya, do you want to comment on that one?
Yeah, I would ask the monitoring officer to take that away if that amendment is to be proposed, and especially check the terms of reference based on what Councillor McPherson has suggested.
Okay, all right. I'm being asked by the monitoring officer to say, first of all, can we take them on block? Well, I guess the answer to that is no. So we need to get a clear understanding as to which ones we don't agree to, and then we can take the ones that we do agree to, agree those, and then agree. Councillor McPherson, yeah.
Sorry, Chairman, if we're just talking on Appendix D, which is us allocated to bodies, I'm quite happy with just the amendment to the CSP because I know those terms of reference because I looked them up. With the PFCC, if we hold it as it is, and if Paul, our officer, could check.
Yeah, the PFCC one isn't the terms of reference that it should be the same person. It's just a representative of Rochford District Council.
So, Chairman, that reverts that one for Councillor Lisa Newport to attend. It's just the CSP one, terms of reference, is the portfolio holder or the chair.
Right.
Thank you.
So right, do you want to just you just say to stand and announce what you want to do?
Are you happy for there to be delegated authority to me to agree that, subject to checking the terms of reference?
So right, so where does that leave us in terms of recommendation? Now take them on block. Yeah, agree with that? Subject to. Well, on the sanctuary housing, that is going to come back. It's work in progress at the moment, so I don't think we can actually agree just yet. That will come back at a future date once there's been some sort of report. I think we're getting ahead of ourselves, specifically on sanctuary housing, if others agree. Sorry? Yeah. By all means, yeah. Councillor Belton.
Thank you. Sorry, just a point of clarification in regards to the recommendation 4. So we're going to vote on the table as set out.
Yes.
Subject to a potential change to Councillor McPherson
Yes.
if the terms of reference say so.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. We
Right.
just wanted to check. Just for the Community Safety Partnership.
Yes. Councillor Brewer is indicating.
Thank you, Chair. Oh, sorry, just clarity again. Councillor McPherson just said she's already been to the health and wellbeing, but it's not on here at all. So are we bringing that in as well, please?
Added on. Yep, that will be added on, and thanks for that, Councillor Malvaya.
But the recommendation is as it is set out.
Yeah.
So we can take it away
Yeah.
and clarify on that point.
That's my understanding, subject to those discussions and clarification that has been given. I'm getting a general nod. So, and the Health and Wellbeing Board will be added on Yeah, all right. So are we all, do we have consensus? Hopefully we do. So I'll take recommendation for the appointment of members of the council to outside bodies for 26-27 as set out in Appendix D, subject to the discussions that we've had. Yeah, can I have a show of hands in those in favour? Councillor Sutton, you're looking confused. But Councillor Newport has helped you. Right, okay. That is unanimous. Good, thank you. Well done, Councillor Newport. Right, okay. Recommendation 5. Now, we've had Councillor Hoy raise a point, and I really have got to take advice from the monitoring officer. I think recommendation 5 about the insertion of exceptionally. Now, as far as I'm concerned, it's a live recommendation unless it is by Councillor Hoy's suggestion that it isn't within the Constitution to do it. I think that's my understanding, but right, we're going to vote in favour, or we're going to vote on it. Nothing like anticipation. Yeah, we can get through the meeting a lot faster that way. Councillor Newport, Lisa Newport.
Thank you, Chair. So just for my understanding, the monitoring officer said we can vote on recommendation 5 because it's within this report, even though it's within the 6 months. So if anything that's happened within the 6 months comes back to council within a report, we can vote on that, can we? Just for clarification.
Ruling on that. Monitoring officer is saying that she's already given advice on it and her advice is final. You'll get a written response. Right, so can we take recommendation 5, please, to the vote with the amendment that we put in at the start, that the start time of meetings will be 7:30 p.m. unless otherwise agreed exceptionally by the monitoring officer in consultation with the relevant committee chairman. Is that agreed, members? And those against? And that recommendation is carried with 27 for and 7 against. Thank you. And finally, that the monitoring officer be instructed to make any necessary amends to the council's constitution to give effect to these recommendations. Those in favour, please. Show of hands. And those against? And those abstaining? (27 for), none against, and 7 abstentions. So that is carried. Yeah. Right, we turn to item 7, which is me introducing the Chairman's Community Chest. There's very little to add. I referred to it at the start of the meeting. My vision for the Chairman's Community Chest. What I'm very keen to do is to raise the profile of Rochford District Council, and I would suggest that's the objective of every single member in this chamber. But I am extremely grateful to the Director of Communities and Health, Paul Brace, for doing some work in terms of putting this together. This part of the work represents the governance structure of the Chairman's Community Chest, and it really speaks for itself. There's quite a bit of technical speak, but the recommendation is that we create a community incorporated organisation. There are various versions of charitable trusts, but the recommendation from Officers After Research is that we create a CIO. There are effectively three parts to this. There is the governance arrangements, which is the creation of a CIO. There is the fundraising part, and then there is the distribution part. So there are three distinct parts. This, of course, is the governance part. I have said on a number of occasions that I'm very keen to explore where there may be gaps in supporting younger people and their development, and I'm currently talking to organisations that are far more expert than I, and I'm talking about people like Bar and Bus, people like RAVS, people like TrustLinks, and the Essex Community Foundation, so that we can actually identify the streams by which grants on particular projects or small grants can be given. So I've got very little to add to the report other than what is laid out there, which is a very detailed report, and I really turn to have I got a seconder, please, for what I'm proposing? Councillor Eaves, thank you very much indeed. And I really turn it now for debate to members. Councillor McPherson.
Thank you, Chairman. First of all, excellent idea, love it.
Thank you, I was worried for a moment.
And congratulations to Paul, because looking into anything like a CIO or KIC or anything, it's an absolute minefield out there. I've just got a couple of points. One, recommendation 1 seems to contradict a little bit, because further on under options, we're looking into a CIO. So it may need some rewording for recommendation 1. Okay, so rather than establish, investigating the establishment of a CIO might be more fitting. And then I have a question. Has anybody spoken to Essex Community Foundation, who are basically an organisation that's set up and look after funds across the whole of Essex, and they do the Southend Fund as well? It's just that it might be an easier route rather than officers' time to manage.
Thank you, Councillor McPherson. You weren't listening to my list, I'm afraid, because I did actually say Bar and Bus, RAVS, TrustLinks and Essex Community Foundation but I haven't spoken to them just yet, but they are groups that I am talking to, and it's about identifying the gaps, potential gaps, and I am advised that there are potential gaps where funds that are raised through this year's Community Chest could assist. So thank you very much indeed. But it gives me a good opportunity just to mention them again, but I have a meeting with them next week. And as I say, the vision was very foggy to begin with. It's still a bit misty, but this is the governance side of it. In terms of investigating, I don't particularly have a problem with that at all. I thought, and I may ask Paul Brace just to comment, I thought that from the research that they'd already done, we'd got a little bit beyond looking at various options. But I may just ask for a bit of clarification to help me, but a really good point. Thank you very much indeed.
It's probably a slight wording error, Chairman. Certainly the principle is that we'll be moving to a CIO as detailed in the report, and the monitoring officer will have the responsibility to ensure that's done appropriately. So we can change the word, but that's what it means.
So just to be clear, the report wording probably needs adjustment rather than the recommendation. because the recommendation is actually pointing towards a CIO. Yeah, but I appreciate that there's a bit of inconsistency within the report. Is that all right, Councillor McPherson? So it's just really good point, but I think we've gone a bit further than keeping all the options, and I'm just keen tonight that we actually try and nail down one particular option rather than keep going over various options. Yeah, happy with that? Okay. Councillor Hoy. Oh, sorry, I've missed you. You need to wave better, Councillor Newport. He's doing really well to my left. So, Councillor James Newport, and then you, Councillor Hoy.
Thank you, Chairman. So, of course, in principle, you know, it's a good scheme. One of the questions that I do have to ask, though, Chairman, is around under the financial implications of the report. They've not been quantified. And I'm actually concerned about the setup costs and ongoing financial costs and management and where that funding will come from, because I see that no money will be taken from general funds. So is this coming out of the money that's raised by the chairman, the running costs? How is that going to be funded? And are we not able to even get some sort of ballpark figure? And I am worried because this council has had poor experience with managing trusts, as we well know, and we've all had bad experience of that at this council previously. So, is this going to become overly difficult to manage a council that's nearing the end of its life in 18 months? And how is this going to transition with LGR? You know, your proposal. Obviously, you know, the heart says yes, but the brain's saying, how much is this going to cost and what's the overhead to the council to run this? So I'd like some answers from the officers on this, please, Chairman.
I'll go to Paul Brace to answer specifically that point. I have my own thoughts, but I'll hear from Paul first.
On research, CIO is the less burdensome in terms of reporting that is required to be done, separate to the different kind of charity setups. Part in the report, there will be a group that is brought together to help shape what that future governance will look like, and that will determine what those costs would be in terms of officer time, bank account, those kind of things. So that's a further piece of work that needs to be done. This was quite a bit of research to get to the point for the chairman of what would be the best route to deliver that long-term charity for the Rochford district beyond LGR. This gives it an opportunity to do that, but we want to bring that group together to help shape what that looks like, obviously cross-party with the appropriate statutory officers in the room, plus myself. So we will be working through that. We haven't got exact costs for it, but I haven't got exact costs for it.
Thank you very much indeed. Councillor Hoy.
Thank you, Chairman. I had similar questions to Councillor Newport, and I would just want to continue to press the officer. We're agreeing something without a cost, and this is something we've fought against for many years, and we're now going to agree something we have got no idea of the cost. I know when we set up the original limited companies, this council did about 10, 13 years ago. They cost an incredible amount of money to set up, and I don't know if it's worth it, and I really can't approve something I do not know the cost of, and that's gone through the whole time I've been a councillor. Moving on from there, can I just have some clarity? This is replacing what has always been the chairman's charity, I take it. Can I have confirmation of that? If that's replacing the chairman's charity in the past has raised money for various different organisations and different other charities. So this would seem to restrict it, in my mind. If a chairman wanted to raise money for something other than these, would that be possible? Would they have to change the deed of trust or the constitution of the charity? I don't know. I'd like clarity on that as well. And if that is the chairman's charity, that's money that they make in fundraising, I take it there'll be no other money coming in from this council at all. It wouldn't replace any of the programmes we have at the moment for individual councillors, for instance. I have confirmation of that.
Thank you, Councillor Hoy. Look, there is a cost in terms of officer time. But sometimes, you can't actually dissect every single thing that we ask officers to do and quantify it in the forensic way you're necessarily asking for. But of course there is a cost. But part of the remit is to make sure that it is set up in a way that we minimise ongoing costs. But I'd be the first to admit that there is a start-up cost. In terms of the future, let's look around at other councils. They have fundraising teams. They have a much higher profile in terms of what the chairman does. This is not taking away a chairman's choice in the future to be able to support their own choice of charities. What I'm suggesting this is a vehicle which actually raises the profile for Rochford District Council so that there is a clear identity for donors to be able to put money into a community chest so that it's got a much greater identity. I'm not in any way taking away what previous chairmen have done. It is actually to enhance what they've done, to give it an identity. So if a future chairman chose to make the community chest one of their charities or not make it one of their charities, that would be their call. And that's clearly got to be the discretion. But this is a governance tool to be able to do that and raise the profile and raise the identity. And this is what the vision is all about. I am saying that for me, what I would like to do is to support younger people, and that is a matter for others to decide whether or not they would wish to do that. But that's how I see it working. Councillor Belton.
Thank you, Chairman. I fully support your initiative and the work that's been done to get us to this point. Many of us on this council, I'm sure, are trustees, are directors of different KICs, CIOs. We understand there is resource that goes into it, but cost is minimal. It is about raising the profile. Already, with the launch of the concept, 2 businesses made donations as a result of that because they liked the fact that this was about supporting young people for the future, a legacy for Rochford, and this is something different to just fundraising that chairmen of all different councils have done and will continue to do. This is about a legacy for Rochford. It's something for our young people, and I'm fully behind it. Even if there is a small start-up cost, it's worth it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Belton. Councillor Stanley.
Thank you, Chair. We at the Raleigh Town Council obviously support charities like Bar and Bus and so on. The one thing that I want to ask the Chair is this in place of the grants that we give out from Rochford District Council, or is it separate from that? Thank you.
Not at all. Thank you, Councillor Stanley, for making that point. It should enhance, in certain cases, some of the monies that the council already give. So it could add to identified causes, and that's, funnily enough, one of the discussions that I'm having is with Bar and Bus, with RAVs and Trust Links, where they have identified perhaps an area supporting younger people that isn't covered by direct grants. And I believe the council has already made a contribution to exploring one of the. I'm really pleased that you raised this point, because one of the ways that there can be continuation of the fund is actually to put money towards a fundraiser for the future, so that there is an ongoing initiative rather than using the money to be spent wisely, but that's the end of it. So you raise a really interesting point. Thank you very much indeed. Councillor Hoy, you have already spoken, but I will show...
It's just very quickly, I'd just like to thank you for your explanation, because that sometimes we read these reports and the actual intention doesn't always come out clearly, and I think you made it quite clear what the intention is.
Thank you very much
and that has
indeed.
cleared up my mind somewhat.
Oh, that's helpful to hear. Thank you very much. Right, if there's no others indicating, I'm going to go to the recommendation, and we will stick, if we may, in the light of explanation, with approve and acknowledge that it was perhaps the report that didn't make it quite clear. No, and thank you very much indeed, Councillor McPherson. So I'm proposing, and Councillor Eaves, did you wish to speak, Councillor Eaves, before I take it? Did you reserve your right? I'm sure you did.
Yeah, having spoken to our chairman about this. I think it's a wonderful legacy, because obviously what we're going to be faced in a few years, if things carry on as they are, we've got a local government reorganisation. This is a fund that is going to go on beyond that. So it will actually do what it says on the tin and produce a legacy for Rochford District Council, as well as doing good. So I'm thoroughly in support of this. Thank you.
That's kind of you, Councillor Eaves. And actually, local government reform was uppermost in my mind in terms of providing a legacy for Rochford District Council. But actually, if you think about it, it's a good thing, even if local government reform doesn't go ahead, because it's still a standalone charitable cause for the future about the identity for Rochford, with its own, those of you that were at the garden party would have seen its own logo already reflecting our heritage, our future. And once again, I pay tribute to Paul Brace and the team and the officer team for making this vision turn into reality. So with that, I'll take recommendation 1, approves the establishment of the Chairman's Community Chest to be operated as a charitable incorporated organisation for the Rochford District. And can I have a show of hands of those in favour, please? And that's an absolute delight to see unanimous support there. Thank you. Recommendation 2 approves the interim governance arrangements for the Chairman's Community Chest until the charitable incorporated organisation is formally established, including the implementation of a community chest board as detailed in this report. Those in favour, please, by a show of hands. And again, that is unanimous. Thank you for that. And R3 notes that the monitoring officer will continue to investigate a charitable incorporated organisation as the preferred longer-term model for creating a legacy fund beyond local government reorganisation, and bring a report brought to a future meeting of the council. A show of hands. Oh, it's a noted. Well done, Councillor Ward. Is that noted, members? Right, thank you very much indeed. I really do appreciate that, that support. Right, we turn to item 8 on our agenda tonight, which is the annual report for 2025 to 26. I am looking to see who is going to talk in favour of the report. Is that Chief Exec or is it Councillor Malvaya? They're both looking at each other to see who's going to do it, but Councillor Mr Stevenson, yeah?
Thank you, Mr Chairman, and thank you, members. In front of you, you've got item 8 on the agenda, which is the Council's Corporate Plan annual report. The Corporate Plan was adopted in 2024, September. The annual report this is the second time we brought this to Council to measure the success and outcomes of the Corporate Plan. I'm happy to take any questions if members have got them within the report. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Any questions, any comments? Councillor Belton.
Thank you, Chairman. Not a question, just a statement to the report, if I may. So, contrary to the repeated statements we've heard from Reform that Rochford District Council is broken, this annual report tells a very different story. It demonstrates that despite the political turbulence Rochford has experienced over recent years, that under my leadership of the joint administration last year, the council had clear direction. It not only continued to deliver, continued to improve and continued to achieve results for the people we serve, but in just 12 months we went further than many thought possible. That is something every member of last year's council, regardless of political persuasion, and every member of staff should be incredibly proud of. One of the clearest endorsements of that success came from our peers across local government. Earlier this year, the LGA peer review took an in-depth look at Rochford District Council. Their feedback recognised the strength of this organisation, our sound financial management, our positive culture and the clear direction that had been established. They described Rochford as a well-run authority with committed members and officers working together effectively. Those are not our words, they are the independent assessment of experienced local government leaders. Those accolades did not happen by accident. They were the product of months of hard work by officers, members from across the chamber, and of course the joint administration that led the council through challenging periods of history. Financially, this authority remains in an enviable position. We remain debt-free, something very few councils in this country can now say, at a time when authorities elsewhere are issuing 114 notices or borrowing heavily simply to balance their budgets. Rochford has maintained sound finances whilst continuing to invest in its future. We invested millions of pounds into leisure facilities, improving services for residents whilst protecting important community assets for generations to come. Those investments were made responsibly without burdening future taxpayers with unnecessary debt. We continued to support our voluntary sector with records of investment, our town centres, local businesses and community organisations, recognising that thriving communities depend on much more than simply balancing the books. But our achievements were about far more than individual projects. We embedded a corporate plan that gave this authority clear purpose and direction, one that started the year before. Every major decision was aligned to 4 ambitions: stronger communities and homes, better places and spaces, supporting our economy and prosperity, and ensuring Rochford remained a well-managed authority. It wasn't simply a document sitting on a shelf, it became a framework of which decisions were made and progress were measured, and accountability was maintained. Perhaps one of the most significant achievements was the progress made on the local plan. For too long, Rochford was left exposed to speculative development because of the previous administration had failed to move the plan forward at pace. During the past year, we rebuilt the momentum, updating the evidence base, commissioning transport modelling, engaging with residents and successfully taking the Regulation 18 Constitution forward, something we were praised for by the LGA. Was there still more to do? Absolutely, and I hope that it happens. We did move the local plan further forward than it had been for years, putting Rochford in a far stronger position to defend our district whilst planning positively for the homes, infrastructure and employment opportunities we need for local people. This wasn't a year of getting by, we excelled. We established our neighbourhood team, we reopened the Freight House, we invested 4.4 million into leisure facilities without borrowing, continued support of the voluntary sector and backed local businesses, throughout all of that remaining debt-free. We created a genuine budget to start the regeneration of Rochford Town to allow wayfinding, options for 57 South Street and contingency for Freight House to ensure that our historic market town can thrive once more. I really hope that isn't reversed. Those are the tangible achievements that residents can see and benefit from every single day. This report also reflects improvements across every one of the corporate priorities, from community services and environmental impacts to economic development and governance. It demonstrates an organisation delivering against its corporate plan and continually striving to improve. No council is ever perfect. There is always more to do, and there always will be. But it is equally important that we recognise success when we see it. Broken organisations do not receive positive local government association peer reviews. Broken associations do not remain debt-free. Broken associations do not continue to invest in services whilst maintaining sound finances. Broken organisations do not make progress this council made in just 12 months. The evidence before us today speaks for itself. I therefore want to place on record my sincere thanks to every member of staff, every councillor who contributed positively during the year, and particularly those who helped deliver the ambitions set out in the corporate plan. This report demonstrates that Rochford District Council was resilient,
wind up, please.
well managed and moving in the right direction. I believe we left the council in a stronger position than we found it, and I hope those strong foundations continue to be built upon in the years ahead. Rochford District Council is not broken, it never was. I'm pleased to support the report.
Thank you, Councillor Belton. Councillor Malvaya.
I've already stated previously that there are bits that could be improved, and I've already stated that the local plan has not been adopted for the last 11 years. There are a number of assets which have not been looked after, and there has been a chronic lack of investments. So going forward, we'll need to look at those things and fix it. So just specifically on that point, there have also been a significant amount of asset transfers out of our balance sheet to other providers. So in that sense, I tend to disagree with what Councillor Belton has said. Thank you. I have read the report, yes. So I am acknowledging that it's a cash surplus council, but the cash has not been spent wisely. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Malvaya. Councillor Hoy.
Thank you. Well, I don't know what I've come into now, really. Thank you, Councillor Belton, because obviously it was the Liberal Democrat and Non-Aligned Group's corporate plan, which the Conservative-led administration continued with, which I was pleased to see. Most of the investments made in the last administration's year was one started under the Liberal Democrat and Non-Aligned Group's administration. So I'm very happy with that. I would, however, have to agree with Councillor Mavea. Sorry, I misspoke there. Malvia. In that I feel that over the previous 20 years there'd been a big lack of investment into the district, which isn't necessarily reflected in this report. That's why there was £4.4 million spent on Clements Hall, because it had been left. So although it may be possible to say that there is no debt, there is no monetary debt, but there is asset debt in the fact that the assets have been neglected, in my opinion. I'll leave that there because I think there are a lot of good things otherwise in the last few years. I just want to raise the local plan. Sorry, my pad just went into re-enter the password and I put the wrong password in, so I can't see what I was going to say. Bring back paper. Right, there we go. On page 81 of the report, it's just got about the local plan. And I'm just, sorry, I keep coming back to the local plan, and it says it's on target. I really struggle to think of this as still being on target, as I've raised in this meeting, I've raised it in previous meetings, no doubt I'll raise it in future meetings. I think, as this is the report of the administration, could I have confirmation from the leader that he agrees that it is on target?
I think that is rather a repeat of an earlier question, and I am going to move on to other speakers because I'm looking at the clock and I really do want to complete our agenda tonight. But nice try, Councillor Hoy, to revert back to member questions. But there we are. If we can turn to Councillor Constable, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's just a brief report on the Environmental and Climate Change Committee last year and some of the things that we achieved. During the last municipal year, the skate park at Clements Hall was commissioned and built. Several play areas were refurbished and a number have been commissioned or being refurbished this year. The unofficial cycle track at Grove Woods will be taken on and refurbished by the council. HVO fuel has been adopted by Norse for all its fleet, which has cut our carbon emissions by over 40%. I think that's a strong thing for the climate change. The new food waste caddies have been brought into service and by and large have been a success, and our tonnage per household is one of the highest in Essex. The neighbourhood team has been set up and is now operating very well, and I would urge ward councillors to use the system and report the things that you want done in your areas, which is what a lot of our residents have been moaning about, things not being done. You've got the system here to use it, and you get a monthly report on the work that is being done and is due to be done, and the link to report work that needs doing is in that report. So I would urge councillors to use the system and get our district looking much better than what it is. So far, it is looking better from the verges that are being cut more and areas are being tidied up. So I will urge most of the members that aren't using it to look around their areas and start using the system. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Constable. I want to move this along. I think that each and every one of us, we're sitting in this chamber because we're proud of living in Rochford, and I think we have a united view that we want to make it an even better place, whatever has gone on in the past, and we hope that we all buy into that agenda to make it an even better place in which to live and work and build on past successes across a succession of administrations. So I knew you'd like that one, Councillor J. Newport. So, but you know, there is a sincerity in us all working together, and as I've often said from position of past leader and councillor, we're all far better when we work in a united way, and the whole thing is a lot more dignified when we work together to achieve the best for the district that we all love. So with that, if I may look at the recommendation, and I'll be on cue this time, Councillor Ward, that members note the annual report 2025-26 as set out in Appendix A, which provides an update on progress to date against the corporate plan priority deliverables, corporate projects and key performance indicators. Members, is that noted? Thank you. Right, we move on to agenda item 9. And that is the withdrawal from the South Essex Council Joint Committee. This should be a fairly straightforward report, and again, I'm not quite sure whether this is being led by the Chief Exec or the leader. Councillor Malvire. Right.
Item 9, South East Essex Council, SECC. This report seeks to close down SEEC, South East Essex Councils, and in doing so, return any funding that remains by dividing the amount between the 7 authorities. SEEC had been formed a number of years ago to provide a structure to enable South East Essex to combine resources and undertaken projects like the introduction of the wide area network. Our funds will be reimbursed, and it's a procedural step. Most of the other councils have already implemented this or are in the process of implementing it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Councillor Malvire, and I assume that you've got a seconder for the recommendations. Councillor Hookway, do you wish to speak now, or do you want to reserve your right to speak later?
I'll reserve my right to speak later.
Thank you, Councillor Hookway. Councillor Belton.
Thank you very much. Just to say, I support the recommendations within the report. This was something that came forward last year, and I said at the time it was the sensible steps. I would just like to place on record, we have brought this up previously in the leaders' meeting, that I don't think that the split of money coming back should be equal. I think it should be proportionate to those that didn't get as much out of the system as they might have done. So Rochford missed out on City Fibre going district-wide. It stopped at Hockley. Rayleigh never benefited from it. So I would like to think that the Chief Exec would be able to negotiate. I don't know that we'll be successful, but I would at least like to try and ensure that we get a proportionate amount of money back from the pot in respective to what we did or didn't get out of the money that was put in. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Belton. Was that to answer a question in relation to the point, Councillor Belton? Yep.
So I would like to support Councillor Belton's view on this.
I think we're all behind that one. Yeah, lovely. Right, any other member indicating before I turn to Councillor Hookway to see whether you wish to say anything further, as you reserved your right?
I've got nothing further, thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Hookway. And Councillor Malvire, in terms of summing up, do you want to sum up before I turn to the recommendations?
So yeah, like I already stated, I would like the recommendations to be put forward. Recommendation, can I go on to R1? Recommendation that the council agrees to withdraw.
Shall I go through the recommendations?
Yes.
Then I'll just put them to council, so I'll save you.
Okay, that's fine.
Right, recommendation 1 is that the council agrees to withdraw from the SEC, South Essex Council's Joint Committee as detailed in this report. Can I have a show of hands to see whether we agree with that? And that is unanimous. And the second recommendation, that the council agrees delegated authority to the Chief Executive to issue formal written notice of unilateral withdrawal to the South Essex Council's Joint Committee as detailed in this report. Those in favour, show of hands, please. And that again is unanimous. Right, I turn to item 10, and that is the South East Essex Unitary Joint Committee proposal. Before we debate that report, can I remind members that if any member wishes to discuss anything relating to Appendix C and D, which are on the pink papers, I will need to move that the press and public be excluded from the meeting on the grounds that there would be a likely disclosure of exempt information as defined in paragraph 1 of Part 1 of Scheduled 12A of the Local Government Act 1972. We've always been pretty good at being able to dance around this without the need to exclude members of the public, but does anyone knowingly wish to stray into that area? That's good news, because that means that hopefully we don't, if you find along the way that you do need to, you'll have to make reference to it, and then I would have to exclude the press and public, and we'd have to stop the link. So with that in mind, can I invite the leader of the council, Councillor Malvaya, to introduce the report and move the recommendations, please? You've got 5 minutes. Thank you.
LGR Joint Committee and Judicial Review. This report seeks the nomination of 2 members from Rochford District Council to sit on the formal and informal joint committee that will meet prior to the shadow authority coming into being next May 2027 following the introduction of the structural change order. This provides us, as in Rochford, with 2 seats at the joint committee table alongside Southend, Castle Point and Essex Council to discuss how the new authority will be set up, governance arrangements, and make proposals on the transformation/transition plans. It is important that Rochford Council continues to be part of these discussions to ensure we can be moulding the future unitary council and do not get left behind. As said, we want to be part of the discussion to shape the future of what that looks like, and therefore, whilst the report seeks to also support Essex County Council's judicial review as an interest party, it realises a mature way to approach this to continue to engage with the process. As such, whilst asking for support to the judicial review, I am proposing that I, as the leader, be one of the members on the joint committee. However, I would suggest the other representative from Rochford is the leader of the Conservative Party, Councillor Daniel Belton. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Malvaya. So, Councillor Belton, do you wish to speak now or reserve your right?
I don't think I'm the seconder, am I? I think.
Sorry, I misunderstood. Councillor Hookway, are you seconding it? Sorry.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Yes, I'm seconding that.
You're seconding.
And I will reserve the right
Reserving your
to speak
right.
later.
Okay. Bit ahead of myself, Councillor Belton, you wish to speak?
Thanks very much. Yes, just to say that I support the report. I think everybody in this council knows we are not for LGR. We never have been, and we have been quite robust in that. But I recognise the importance of being involved in any process that's taking place so that we understand what is coming forward. I thank the Leader of the Council for supporting my request to be a second member on that committee. I believe the experience that I bring from last year and the passion that I've got moving forward will benefit the members of this council. So happy to support all the recommendations within. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Belton. Now you understand why I made the mistake of suggesting you might even be seconder. Sorry, Councillor Hookway. But now you understand the confusion, but the second member. Councillor Lisa Newport.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to propose an amendment to recommendation 3 so that it will read, agree that the Council will continue to engage in ongoing preparatory work for the reorganisation of local government in Greater Essex. We don't need to pending the outcome of the above judicial review, just in case we don't get that far. If I have a seconder, please.
I'll second that.
Councillor Hoy is seconding it. So we now move into debating the proposal. Councillor Malvaya, have you got a comment to make in relation to that?
No, we would like to keep the recommendation as it is. Thank you.
So in that case, we will move to debate the recommendation or the amended recommendation to basically do away with the words "from pending onwards," if I understand Councillor Newport. That keeps it fairly simple, doesn't it? Right, okay. Councillor Belton.
Thank you.
You're speaking to the amended.
I am.
Yep,
I don't support the amendment. I don't see any point for it, because if at any point the JR is successful, and does proceed in a different way, then the committee would cease to exist, would be my understanding. So I'm quite comfortable that the recommendations as set out serve exactly the purpose that they need to set, and should the JR succeed, the committee will cease. If it doesn't succeed, the committee continues until the Shadow Authority.
Thank you very much indeed. Anyone else wish to speak to the amendment put forward by Councillor Lisa Newport? Councillor Hoy, you're reserving your right to speak now if there's no one else. Go for it.
I'm happy to speak now. I don't think reserving the right, and our constitution says we have to wait to the end, actually. We don't have to be the last speaker in our constitution. Obviously, I'm supporting the amendment that Councillor Lisa Newport put forward. I think this is superfluous wording. It doesn't need to be there. It's redundant. I think it's only been put there for political reasons, so that there's two parties, groups, or more than two in this chamber who want to put this forward and say they said this. But we should be working towards this. It doesn't matter if it's pending or not pending. We should be doing this work.
Thank you. I will go to a vote on the amendment at this stage, and that is the amendment put forward by Councillor Lisa Newport, and that recommendation 3 be amended to agree that the council will continue to engage in ongoing preparatory work for the reorganisation of local government in Greater Essex. Can I have those in favour, please? And those, sorry, have you got numbers? Yep. And those against? And any abstentions? That amendment is lost, but let me give you the numbers. So the numbers 4-7 against 25, abstentions 2. So that is lost, and we go back to the debate on the general report, and we'll come to the recommendation shortly. But anyone wishes to make any further comments? Councillor O'Leary.
Thank you, Chair. Just with regards to recommendation 4, I would like to propose that Michael Hoy be one of the members of that committee. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I'll second that, please. Thank you.
Yeah, I do apologise. I was talking to the monitoring officer at the time, but I didn't hear the point that you made. Could you just repeat?
Sure.
I do apologise.
With regards to, sorry, my phone is just going. Yes, sorry. With regards to recommendation 4, I'd like to propose Michael Hoy as a member of that joint committee, as one of the 2 members coming from Rochford District Council.
Right, so we've got 2 proposals, haven't we? One for Councillor Belton and one for Councillor Hoy. Yeah? Yeah, Councillor Malvire is the first person, so he is automatically there by virtue of being the leader. That's my understanding. Yeah? Okay, all right. I'm still keeping up with the plot. For the second position, I think we turn to... Well, first of all, I think we're going to go to the recommendations, haven't we? Because it's the recommendations that we need to consider, and then we decide who will take the position. Everyone happy with that? Yeah? Okay. So if I can turn... Sorry, Councillor Hookway, did you wish to do any summing up? Or any... reserving your right as seconder, and then any summing up from Councillor Malvire?
Bearing in mind the time of the evening, I will give up that right.
Right, okay. Councillor Malvire, any comment? Any further comment, or do we go straight to recommendations?
Further comments.
Okay, right. I will read out the recommendations, and that is to note from recommendation 1, note the update provided on local government reorganisation LGR, including key developments and Rochford District Council's involvement to date as detailed in this report. Noted. Recommendation 2, agree in principle support for Essex County Council's judicial review challenge to the Secretary of State for Housing, Communities and Local Government's decision of 25th of March 2026 on his preferred option for the reorganisation of local government in Greater Essex and delegate authority to the monitoring officer in consultation with the Chief Executive and the leader to take all necessary steps to respond in support of the claim as detailed in this report. Agreed? Right, in that case, we'll have a vote. Those in favour of agreeing? Those against? And any abstentions? 27 for, 7 against. So that is agreed. Recommendation 3, agree that the Council will continue to engage in ongoing preparatory work for the reorganisation of local government in Greater Essex pending the outcome of the above judicial review proceedings as detailed in this report. Is that agreed, or do we need to go to the vote? Agreed? Happy with that? Good. I'm not seeing any dissenters. And 4, agree that 2 members will serve on the Joint Committee for South East Essex when established and on an informal joint committee to support local government reform, collaboration and transition arrangements, including the leader and 1 other member to be agreed in the meeting. First of all, is that agreed? Agreed? No need for a vote? No? Okay, good. Coming back to the original point, by virtue of being leader, Councillor Malvaya is automatically the first member. Do we have any other nominations other than Councillors Belton and Hoy? No? Okay. So I think that's a straight vote for those 2, and I'll do it in alphabetical order, B and then H. So are those in favour of Councillor Belton? By show of hands. And those in favour of Councillor Hoy, by a show of hands. I think we knew the outcome, Councillor Hoy, but for the record, so it's 27 for Councillor Belton, 7 for Councillor Hoy. So Councillor Belton will be the second representative. And that concludes that item. Now, I'm just conscious of time because we've been going for 2.5 hours or just on. Well, I'm actually wondering whether or not we want a very short adjournment or whether you wish to push on. Carry on. Right, okay. In that case... sorry, Councillor Hookway.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I think a suitable short break would be appropriate.
Councillor O'Leary.
Don't we need to have a vote to extend?
Well, I'm not at the extending. I'm actually just simply saying, do people want a comfort break at the moment? But I think 10 o'clock is the... it's 9:30. Oh, right, okay. 9:30, yeah. Right, okay. So in that case, at this point, I will move a procedural motion to extend the meeting by up to 10 o'clock. Those in favour, please indicate. And if you can keep your hands up, please. And those against? Keep your hands up, please. So any abstentions? Nope. 3 abstentions, so 11 for, 19 against, 3 abstentions. So that actually means that at that point we've concluded the proceedings for this evening, because we won't be going to motions now. I believe that the motions then continue to the next meeting. So I'm sorry, members, that's where it concludes for this evening. So that concludes our business. Thank you very much indeed for your attendance. Have a good summer.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be upstanding for the Chair of the Council, Councillor Simon Wotton, the Vice Chair of the Council, Councillor Adrian Eves, and the Chief Executive, Jonathan Stevenson.